Is an iBuyer. If you're in a market, and there are a lot of markets across the country where the iBuyers aren't even operating. So if you're in one of those markets where they don't operate, you may not even know what I'm talking about. We're talking about companies, and again, I remind you, I don't normally call people out by name, but I have done this consistently with this category, and I'm going to continue to. Knock, Open Door, OfferPad, and for a while, Zillow and Redfin. There are some others out there too, some smaller ones, Orchard and different things, but those are the main ones. Well, what is an iBuyer? And actually, I came up with a definition for it as a joke with the staff the other day, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to use this. Here's an iBuyer. An iBuyer is an institutional, large-scale, but less honest real estate investor. That's really what they are. An institutionalized, large-scale, but less honest real estate investor. What do I mean by less honest? Well, their deals come with hidden fees and surprise repair requirements. It works something like this. You call up this iBuyer, you go on their website, you put in your address, and they send you back an automated offer. Yay! They use an automated valuation method, AVM, and it gives them a price. And they say, in exchange for the convenience of being able to close when you want and get the cash right then, we're going to ask you to take a little bit of a discount. Okay, you say you take the discount. They send you a contract. You sign the contract, which means now you are in a legally binding agreement, and you cannot sell that property to someone else, even if a realtor brought you an offer that was more like the full price. You cannot sell if you're under contract with this iBuyer, you see. But the contract states that it is subject to some terms and conditions. One of those is they're going to come out and they're going to look at the property, and they're going to tell you what needs to be repaired. You either agree to make the repairs or reduce the price, the selling price, at a price that they recommend so that they can make the repairs. And when I saw that, I thought, good grief, I make that offer every day. When we as real estate investors, and every real estate investor that's out there that's listening to this, that hears me say this, they know this is true. We make our offers based on the fact that we want to make a little profit, so there's a discount built in, and in exchange for that discount, we're going to let you sell it as is, and we'll make the repairs. Well, if you want to make the repairs yourself, then we'll give you more money, just like the iBuyers. The difference is we'll tell you that up front. We won't ask you to put the house in a binding legal agreement, the contract, before we give you a fair and a reasonable offer. Now, okay, not all real estate investors make fair and reasonable offers. Okay, I'll grant you that. But I'm talking about what we do. We make an offer that allows us to make a profit and allows the seller to get as much as they can for the house, as much as, it's got to be a mutual win-win, right? Okay. So the iBuyers, let's say I'm going to give you $150,000 for this house, and they'll get an offer from an iBuyer for $180,000. That hurts me, because people are going to sell it for $180,000. Then a couple of weeks later, the iBuyer comes back and says, well, we've been out and we've looked at the property, and you need to make $20,000 in repairs. And oh, by the way, there's a 6% commission. And oh, by the way, there's a handling fee and another charge. And those add up to, in some cases, as much as 16% of the selling price. And in the final analysis, they're getting less from the iBuyer than they would have from me. And many times, no more from the iBuyer than they would have from me. The difference is I tell them up front what I'm willing to give them, and the iBuyers put a little deception into it to make it sound better than it is. And guess what? They're preying on the stupidity of the sellers, and they're relying on this deception to make their model work. There's something else that they do too. They believe that the housing market is going to continue to go up, up, up indefinitely. And in fact, some of them have built their pricing models based on the housing market. Computers are just dumb enough to spit out what you ask them to. And if you say, look at the last 4 years and project from that what the rate of appreciation on house price is, and they're going to come up with some number that looks crazy to us who have been around for 20 years, and then they're going to make a decision based on, well, we're going to hold it for this long amount of time, and we'll discount it, we'll sell it for a little bit more. And so they've got that built in. Guess what? It doesn't work. Here are 4 reasons why the iBuyers are destined to fail. And I'm not just talking about the big ones. I'm talking about all of them. They are destined to fail. I really think that in enough time, all of these iBuyers are going to be out of business. First of all, none of them have ever made money that I am aware of. And secondly, I think that sooner or later, those investors who are betting on the upside are going to get tired of waiting because they're not going to make money. Number one, no amount of computer modeling can make up for a lack of local knowledge. It doesn't matter that you have computers and you are right on top of the MLS data and you can get access to the sold data, even in Texas and other states that don't disclose that. Somehow you figured it out. Even if you can do that, you don't know that there's a hog rendering plant next to that one side of the neighborhood that makes those houses slow sellers and no one wants to buy over there. Or the computers don't know that there's some other local condition that makes the property undesirable. I'm not sure that their computers take into account, for example, the rating of the schools. You should, especially if you want to hold the property for a while. No amount of computer modeling can make up for a lack of local knowledge. Number 2, they do not have a profit motive. Does that surprise you? It should. It surprises me that these companies can raise hundreds of millions of dollars from unsuspecting investors because the people have, I don't know, fancy credentials, and they're raising all this money and they're talking about all this sophisticated technology, but they don't really intend to make money. They really intend to move the money. They are making money for them, I suppose, but not necessarily for their investors. Their business model, and maybe they think they want to make money. Okay, let's give them that. But their business model says that they can't. Now, I've got a couple of articles in the notes today. One of them is a CNN article, and the guy from Redfin, Redfin just got out of this business. Zillow got out a year ago after losing, I don't know, 80 million, 800 million, I can't remember. But Redfin is getting out of the business now, laying off 13% of their workforce, 264 people just in the iBuying division alone. That's all of them. And they're getting out of this business. Why? They've admitted that they are paying for prices for houses and they can't sell them for as much as they're paying. Well, hey, I think that's rule number 1 in Roger's 2 simple rules of real estate investing. Rule number 1 is buy it for less than you can sell it for. But they're not even adhering to that one basic rule. It reminds me of the stupidity involved in the lending programs of the early 2000s, where it didn't make any difference if you could pay the loan back. If you stated an income, you could borrow the money. Man, it just amazes me. This is institutionalized stupidity. All right. Number 3, their business model relies in part on deception. I've already gone on. I've described that for you, and I've spent enough time on that probably. I can just say this. People can be fooled, but not forever. They're going to catch on. Now, I've also said that the iBuying model is they're trying to bring something similar to the used car business in here. Well, I would say that the used car business has quite a bit of deception in it as well. The difference is in the used car business, you're talking about a lot less amount of money, and you're talking about local used car dealers who, for the most part, have a profit motive. And there are some exceptions to that in the used car business. I do understand that. But there are also quite a few cars that they won't deal with, and I don't have time to get off into that whole thing. There are some similarities. There's an analogy, but there are enough differences that used cars are here to stay. The used car model for house buying, I don't think it can work. Not on the national level based on technology alone making the decisions. And then number 4, their business model relies in part on above average home appreciation. I mentioned this a few minutes ago as well. And when you build a business relying on extraordinary circumstances, then you're setting yourself up for failure. It may sound good when you're talking to the investors, but if the investors have been paying attention to trends long enough, or even if they understood the basic rules of logic, there is a reason that average is the average. It's because it's the average. If you are relying on above average results to build your business, and then you get average results, your business is not going to work. And guess what? It doesn't work. They're not making money. There you have it. 4 reasons why the iBuyers are going to fail. And I don't know if you heard it here first, but you certainly heard it here. And I've been saying it from day one. I didn't appreciate what they were doing. It took me a little while to come to the point to realize that it's just going to fail. It's not going to work.